program.
What you talking about?
The program. The program. Get with the program.
Everybody clap to this. Say what?
Get with the program.
It starts now.
Hello and welcome to Get With The Program Radio Show. I'm your host, Gary Jones. Now, Get With The Program Radio Show is a multicultural, informative, relevant, and entertaining 1 hour weekly show offering you a combination of diverse interviews with questions and comments. And always, we will act as a positive source of information. Now, listen, if you want to be a guest on the show, all you got to do is log into www.getwiththeprogram.biz. Shoot me an email, leave me a message. You never know. You may have a conversation that we would love to talk about. Or you can give me a call at 919-255-2757. Now listen, today we're going to be joined in a conversation now, in a good conversation with Dr. Brooke. Now, let me tell you about Dr. Brooke is a clinical doctor by trade and an inspirational leader by purpose. Now, originally from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, she attended Lincoln University where she obtained a BS in health science and also became an active member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Later, she matriculated to Duke University where she earned a clinical doctorate of physical therapy from Duke University of Medicine. Now, Dr. Brooks is also the founder of Man Cave for Hair, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Hello, Dr. Brooke, and welcome to Get With The Program Radio Show.
Hello, Gary. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It is a pleasure to get you here. You know, I know you're busy because you're definitely doing some promotions with this the Man Cave for Hair, because I see you on different shows. I mean, you've been on Sister Circle, the Q Show, ABC News, and Fox News. I'm just honored to have you here on this show today.
Oh, wow. The honor and the pleasure is all mine. I highly respect what you're doing in our community. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to share the platform with you today, my brother.
Thank you as well. Thank you very much. So let's get right into this thing, Dr. Brooke. Now, the Man Cave for Hair, that's what we're going to talk about today. That's what we're going to be focusing on, the Man Cave. Tell my audience, the Man Cave for Hair. What are we talking about?
Yeah, so as Gary said, everyone, I'm a clinical doctor by trade, and I realized as I have gone through my career that I am someone who likes to restore. So as a physical therapist, I restore people's function and their physical abilities. And about 3 years ago, I started a company, a hair restoration company, specifically for men of color, for ethnic men that have textured hair. A lot of people have seen different types of hair restoration products. There's a lot of companies out there, but most of them are geared towards non-ethnic, more so Caucasian men. And there's been some gray areas for men of color who suffer from premature male pattern baldness. So one of the things that I was able to come up with was Man Cave for Hair as a solution to men of color who are going through premature male pattern baldness.
Now, I want to ask you, Dr. Brooke, how did you come up with the name Man Cave? Because I know when I hear the name Man Cave, I think about my basement, you know, where the fellas hang out at, the Man Cave. So how did you come up with that name?
Exactly. Well, you know, as a woman, initially when I first started this business venture, Gary, I actually started with my women's line. I had a women's line called Queen Remy's Hair Palace. And I started seeing a number of different men buying products, female women's products from my women's line. I didn't think anything of it. I said, hey, we're here for everybody. But I was curious to find out what exactly they were using the hair products for. After doing a lot of research and really dealing with my husband, who was going through his bout with premature male pattern baldness, I started to really dig deep into researching the options that were out there for men of color. And the name Man Cave really came from exactly what you just said. You know, that's the place when I think of when men go to, experience their things, to get away from everyone else, to hang out with the fellas, to have personal time to themselves. They go to their man cave, you know, and I thought that was definitely something that a lot of men could relate to, as it pertains to things that deal with things that are specific to men.
Wow, that's good observation there. Now, we know that at some point in our lives, particularly the men, the brothers, we have our hair receding. Even my hair is getting thin, at some point, because my dad, he had baldness in the back. Mine haven't hit that part yet, but I know it's going to happen eventually. So we all suffer that at some point. Now, the man cave, does this offer is it like surgical? I mean, how do you do it?
Yeah. So we offer a couple different options. We do offer a non-surgical, semi-permanent solution. So there is no surgery involved. And semi-permanent, meaning that it does last for a long time, but of course it's not a permanent fixture. It's good for a lot of men who are kind of going through the different stages to see which products that we offer are a best fit for them, especially for men who have never used any type of hair prosthesis or hair that is not necessarily growing out of their scalp. It's definitely something that it takes them getting used to. Surgical options, of course, are a lot more permanent. So we definitely did not go that route. We wanted to provide something that would give the look that someone would be going for, but also the option to go back to possibly being bald if they decided to do that as well.
Oh, okay. So what are some of your clients, perhaps like in reference to demographics? Is it any particular age? I mean, this is for anyone?
Absolutely, Gary. Absolutely. Over the last few years, we thought we had an idea of the demographic, but we realized there are so many men in this country, specifically men of color, who are dealing with premature male pattern baldness, starting as early as in their early 20s, all the way up, of course, to men in their late 70s. It does not discriminate. And you know what? A lot of people have to thank their parents, specifically their mothers, because they said it comes from the mother's side of the family for that. But you will be surprised how many younger men we have and not so much older men.
That's interesting. Wow. I'm glad you brought that point up, because I was really curious about that. Does this just happen in your clientele, your demographics, which is good. Now, I noticed that you've had some stars and you've also embarking up on the film company using your product. So tell us about some of the celebrities that you are experiencing right now.
Yeah. We've had a lot of really great opportunities. Of course, we started out as a product line offering premature male pattern baldness solutions for men, and more so just on the cosmetic side. And really, just as I have been going through this journey as a woman in a male-dominated industry, the barbering industry, It's been very interesting. And I have been able to connect with some really prominent barbers that work in film and television who actually used our hair pieces in some of our hair systems on some of the actors that they work with in the films that they were, producing the looks for. So we have had the opportunity to have our hair systems used on Usher. We've had our hair systems featured in this upcoming Coming to America 2 movie. We have some of our hair pieces being featured in that movie. And it's just something to see how there's still a gap and an underserved population within film and television, as well as it relates to having ample selections of products to use for the male actors, who have the ethnic textured hair as well. So it's not just the general public. What we've come to see is that there, even in Hollywood, even in film and television, there is an underserved population there as well that do not have enough options even to build the characters that they've been hired to build.
Wow, this is some interesting stuff. What I'm going to do here, we're going to take a break. We're going to take a break and we're going to come back. And when I come back, I want to find out some of the biggest challenges men of color face as it relates to hair restoration options, because we face a lot of challenges with this hair loss thing, because, it becomes an issue where we get shamed. I remember, well, I can't say I remember. I've seen men that wear, what is it called? The toupee? It's the hair piece they put on it. But see, your thing, it puts on there and it just stays there. And I also want to know about as far as getting wet and water and things like that. But we're going to get to those questions when we come back after this break. But listen, I got to reach out to Steve Rao. Steve Rao, my political guy, what's going on in your world?
Well, Gary, as we are counting the ballots to see who will be the next president of the United States in one of the highest turnout elections in the United States history, we will find out soon whether it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump. What's amazing in North Carolina, Gary, after hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars were spent to make North Carolina a blue state, much of the opposite has occurred. Although Governor Roy Cooper was elected with a 200,000 vote margin, many Republicans have now won. Many Republicans edged out victories, including Mark Robinson, the new Republican lieutenant governor, the first Black American to serve in the lieutenant governor's office. The legislature, which was supposed to go Democrat in the state Senate and the House, picked up seats, and now they'll be in charge of redistricting the new legislative and congressional seats in 2020. The Supreme Court also went Republican, with only 3,000 votes separating Chief Justice Sherry Beasley from Paul Newby. And so many, many surprises across the board. And what it seems, Gary, is that Donald Trump's multiple visits to North Carolina rallied Republicans in the rural areas of the state. So the Democrats in North Carolina did well in the urban areas, but in the rural areas failed to pick up the votes they needed to take North Carolina blue. So Donald Trump wins North Carolina, Tom Tillis wins re-election, and North Carolina is still a red state after hundreds of millions of dollars were spent. Only time will tell to see whether the Democrats can shift their strategy to pull rural voters out in their favor.
All right, Steve Rao, thank you so much. I appreciate that, man. Looking forward to you getting back on the show next week. Once again, Steve Rao, my political analyst. Thank you so much, Steve. Hello and welcome back to Get With The Program radio show. Again, I'm your host, Gary Jones. Now, today we're joined in a conversation with Dr. Brooke. Again, Dr. Brooke is a clinical doctor by trade and an inspirational leader by purpose. Now, what we're talking about today, we're talking about a hair product, or shall we say, I can't say a hair piece, but if you see the video and how this thing really looks, people, it's incredible. But she has this product called Man Cave for Hair. Welcome back, Dr. Brooke, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Now, before I get into that question, I kind of want my audience to know exactly so they can know men. We're talking about men who have lost their hair. Their hair is bald, and you want to get that look. She can make that happen. I mean, she really can make that happen because I've seen some. Matter of fact, before we even go to Dr. Brooke, how can people get in contact with you and see some of your work? Let's do that first.
Absolutely. So you can find us on Instagram at Man Cave for Hair. That's MANCAVE, the number 4 HAIR. We are also on Facebook, same name, Man Cave for Hair. Or you can go to our website, www.mancaveforhair.com. We have some of our videos posted on YouTube. You can search us on there as well to kind of see some of our before and afters. If you're interested, any of those platforms, you'll find out exactly what we're doing and where we are.
Wow. And you notice, I also noticed that you did beards. I saw one part where you do beards. You do. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I want to get some dreadlocks, I can get dreadlocks. Can I get braids if I want to get braids?
Absolutely, Gary. You could pretty much get any style that you desire.
Wow, man, this is great.
Absolutely.
So, wow, actually, we can change somebody's identity if we're not careful. That's real. That's really wild there. Now, How did you get into men hair extensions, specifically men of color? Because we know that are some of the biggest challenges that we go. How did you kind of get into men extensions? Because when you say extensions to men, we think about extensions for women. How did the men take that? How did they take that?
Yeah, well, like I said, this is something I've been doing now for the last about almost close to 3-4 years. I've been in the hair industry for 5, going on 6 years. I started in the women's industry, actually. And I started in the women's industry and started to incorporate men's hair into my women's line. But one thing I realized, Gary, is that women, we have been on this journey since Madam C.J. Walker, right? Mm-hmm. I think we can take it all the way back to the Madam herself as it relates to women's hair products, transferring into extensions and wigs. If you go into the beauty supply store, what do you see? It's all women's hair products and hair options. Very little for men, especially for men of color. so as I was embarking on the journey in the women's industry, it was really not that successful because it's a very oversaturated industry on the women's side. But like I said earlier in the segment, my husband was dealing with premature male pattern baldness. And honestly, Gary, it really just touched the place in my heart because I didn't realize how sensitive, how difficult it was for men, especially men of color, who start to lose their hair. Like I said, this world and the beauty industry is catered to women. We can have those long hair one day and short hair the next, and no one will ask questions about it. So it really, truly just had me in my creative space and thinking of him in particular and how difficult it was to watch him go through that. And also the flip side is not having an option. That's what sealed the deal.
Now, I know people lose their hair for many different reasons. I mean, such as, of course, it could be a hereditary issue. It could be cancer, alopecia. I think that's how we pronounce it. It could be. Do you do those people like that as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have every year we gift a free hair system and a makeover to a child with alopecia during Alopecia Awareness Month. We have dealt with cancer survivors who have gone through chemotherapy and lost all of their hair. We really, truly have been blessed to give back the gift of, like you said, their identity. Our crowns are very significant in identifying who we are. And we really grow to have a connection with our hair for those of us who are fortunate enough to have it. And it's something that we have majority of our lives. So as you get into your older age, males and females, because we do have some female clients as well. But definitely, like I said, for our men and our brothers out there specifically, it's not something that has been deemed as being acceptable. So really a part of our mission at Man Cave for Hair is starting to, make it normalize this narrative of men wearing hair extensions, quote unquote, or a hairpiece. But what we did, Gary, is we took that to a different level. Creativeness in the African American culture, we really came from a cultural standpoint and understand that barbershop cut, that look, that fresh look that a man of color is looking to have. So we've incorporated the traditional hair restoration options, and then we've also incorporated the cultural approach and kind of made it a conglomerate to get some of those flawless looks that you talked about earlier in the segment.
Mm-hmm. Now, is it done from real hair? Do you use actually real hair, or is it like the hair? I think some hair is synthetic. Is it from real hair that you actually put in here?
Absolutely. So we offer a couple different options. So we do have a synthetic hair option, and we do have a human hair option. And of course, both of those are used for different reasons. Some people can have allergic reactions. So we really try to make sure that during the initial consultation with a client, we're actually looking to see which hair type and hair texture would be most appropriate for them. Also, we inquire about how active their lifestyle is. Are you a person that works out? Do you go swimming? We have to incorporate all of those things as well, because that also helps to make the decision of which type of hair texture and style and hair system we would want to use on a particular client.
Now, the big question is people going to want to know, how much does the hair system cost? Yeah.
So once again, it's going to vary. So it can range from $199 to $200 all the way up to $700. And it really is a matter of the quality of the hair system, how intricately it's made and designed. Because if you're saying you want dreadlocks or you want something like that, there's a lot more intricacy inside of the creation of that hair system. We do have ventilators that can ventilate and hand tie each knot of hair into the hair system. So it takes time. But for people who are looking for something, we've had people that wanted for their weddings. They just wanted something really quick. They wanted to get back to that old high school look. And, we were able to create something for them that was not as expensive and it did not last as long. So really, it just depends on what the person is going for, how long they're looking to have it. And that really helps us to help them make the right decision.
Wow, the prices are not that bad, you know. What we're going to do, we're going to take another break. We're going to take another break. And when I come back, I do want to ask you that question you just mentioned. How long does it last? That's one thing I want to find out. How long, if I get this, how long is it going to last? But listen, don't touch that dial. We joined today with Dr. Brooke. Dr. Brooke is a clinical doctor by trade and an inspiration leader by purpose. Originally from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, she attended Lincoln University, where she obtained a BS in health science and also became an active member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I know them ladies want to hear that. And later she matriculated to Duke University, where she earned a clinical doctorate in physical therapy from Duke University of Medicine. Now, Dr. Brooks is also what we having a conversation about. She's the founder of Man Cave for Hair. And men, you got to see the website, the video. I mean, she's doing transformational situations, making men look like something that, I mean, it's incredible. But listen, don't touch that dial. Now I want to reach out to my good friend, comedian Greg Digger. Greg Digger, I know you got something going on out there with you, man. Tell me what's going on in your world, Greg. What's happening?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. You know, white folks have to have a book on everything. I ain't lying. You know how I do when I'm on stage. White folk read a book on how to have sex, how to have a baby, how to raise a kid. Now, they don't want to read a book. I just seen, Gary, I'm down here in Charlotte. The libraries and the bookstores are packed with white folks buying books. Any book written by a black person, they buying them off the shelf. And Gary, you ain't gonna believe it. If you think I'm lying, goggle it. The number one book they are buying, get this. Now, white folk crazy. The number one book that's being sold right now is How to Be Anti-Racist. Now, can you believe that? How come you need a book on how to not call me the N-word? But I got to get out of here, Gary. But y'all goggle it. I ain't lying. White folks is buying anything about how to be non-racist. Books by black people. So you tell the rest of the audience, I'm not lying. They think I'm lying. Goggle it. Yeah, y'all have a good day. Peace.
Hello and welcome back to Get With The Program radio show. Again, I'm your host, Gary Jones. Now listen, as I said before, we joined today with Dr. Brooke. And Dr. Brooke is the founder of Man Cave for Hair. It is a product that can actually transform you. If you got a bald head or you missing some hair, I mean, they can put that hair back into, you know, when you was a young kid and you grew up and you got older and your hair started receding, went to the back of your head. You know, I've seen, they call it the clown look, you know, Dr. Brooke. but she can actually make you look like you were young again. It's incredible, man. Wow. So Dr. Brooke, before we left, you know, we talked about how much it costs. Now, what I want to know, I'm sure the audience want to know, once they get this hair replacement in their head, how long does it last?
Yeah. So the beauty of it is that we have a couple different options, which will dictate how long your hair system will last. The range is somewhere between 2 weeks for our custom build hair systems, all the way up to 6 months for our lace-based hair systems. And really, truly, the maintenance in between is what will progress the longevity of the hair system. So getting your the hair that grows, getting your haircuts and, kind of retacking it down, going to the maintenance. But it can last up to 6 months.
That's not bad. 6 months. I mean, even if it was 3 months, I mean, because I see women that go to the shops and get weave in their hair, and sometimes it may last, depending on what they do, it may last 3 weeks or something. But even if it lasts for 2 months, that's good. When they get and men get the hair in the head, they can go to the barbershop and cut it just like normal. They can still get haircuts and everything.
Yeah. So they can still get haircuts. Of course, we recommend going to someone who is familiar with, hair replacements, maybe that they've had some experience either installing them. Really, the maintenance, you would want to go back to someone who's already installed it, just so they can keep it seamless and looking really right and tight.
Wow. So what are the biggest challenges men of color face as it relates to hair restoration options?
Yeah, well, Gary, I think there's a few things. Number one, I think that going on this journey, making sure that it is deemed as acceptable. I think that there's some type of a stigma behind men, and more specifically men of color, actually seeking out hair restoration options. I don't care if it's surgical, non-surgical, for medical reasons or what have you. There's a stigma behind it. So I think one of the biggest issues and the problems that they face is making sure that it's acceptable and feeling comfortable and secure to make the decision to at least want to try it. Outside of that, once someone does come to a decision to say that they want to embark on that journey, it's finding something that's appropriate, finding something that's realistic, finding something that they can, feel comfortable with wearing. I think for many years, for those of you who kind of watch some of the infomercials, they've had maybe one hairpiece for men of color. It kind of looks like a small little rug. There was just not a lot of options. And I think that the biggest issue for men of color is having those options to choose from, because as we know, just like women, we're very diverse. We come in all different colors and different hair textures. And it's important that that's reflected in the options in which they have.
That's interesting. Now, we did talk about some of the physical activities they can do. So you're telling me that if I were to get this, I can actually swim in this and it won't come off. I can swim in it, sweat in it, and it's gonna stay right there. Is this like glued on? Is it a type of glue or something?
Yes. So we use a non-surgical adhesive. Medical grade adhesive. When we do the non-surgical hair system. So it's a medical grade adhesive. It's hypoallergenic. And yes, it is kind of like a glue. It's kind of like a glue that adheses it to the scalp. But it can last through the rain. It can last through the sweat. You can go swimming in it. You can pretty much live the same lifestyle that you lived with the hair that normally grew out of your scalp the same way with your hair system.
Wow, that's good to know, because a lot of people will want to know that, so I can get this in my head and I can go swim. Wow, this is I'm gonna tell you, it's really scary too, because now this is the deal. This is the deal right here. Now, if men get this, I guess this is just a personal preference question here. Should men tell the women that they meet, and they have this hair, piece in there, they have a whole different look. Should they tell the woman about this before this is just a question, before they fall in love, before the women actually fall for them at some point? Should the man be honest and say, look, I got this hair piece. This is what I look like before I got this?
Oh, goodness. That's a great question, Gary. Oh, my goodness. These are some questions that have come up now that this has started to come more mainstream. You see it on the internet, you see it on different blog sites, and you see the comments below, and the women in those comments, I kind of have to say, hey, ladies, we're being a little bit harsh on these brothers. For many years, we've been wearing hair, and we don't you dare ask if it's a wig. Don't you dare ask if this is my real hair. But I do see a bit of a double standard, when it comes to, my ladies out here who are either with men that are wearing, are these hair systems, or those who are out in the dating world. There's this thing. What do you ask on a first date? Oh, everybody's asking. The man is asking the woman, is that your real hair? And the woman is asking the man, is that your real hair? So, I think that hopefully it just becomes more acceptable on both sides. But I think it's going to just be a matter of personal preference at that point.
Yeah, because you're right. A lot of people out here today now, the world is truly getting to be artificial. Everything is beginning to look like something that it isn't. And from your website, I actually visited your website and did my research. It is beautiful, people. You have to see this transformation that she is able to perform on people. Now, how does this transform? How does it transform someone's life? Because people are, they are sad and shame of having baldness in their head. How do you think this is actually transforming people from your opinion?
Yeah, Gary, that's the part that I thrive off of. Off of the end result. It's something how going through this process of losing your hair and what that can do to your quality of life. Like it's really that serious. It's not just a matter of confidence anymore. It affects your overall quality of life. So when you see the life-changing aftermath of what something like this can do for someone, especially someone who is going through medical reasons, they've lost their hair. It just really, truly takes them to another level of in confidence and feeling good about themselves. And they walk with their chest a little more popped out, with their head a little bit higher. One story in particular is a young boy that had alopecia. His mom called us and asked if he could be one of the young children selected to receive a hair system. He came in, head hung so low. He cried when we had to cut off some of his hair, the little bit of hair that he had. It was devastating. I was like, oh my Lord, we've made the wrong decision. But as soon as he looked in the mirror when that hair system was done, he got on FaceTime. He got on his live. He got on the phone with his friends. He was laughing. I could not be more overjoyed and happy to see what that did for that young boy.
He was excited, I bet. Wow.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, can you do? Well, I know you. I did see some beards. You can do actually beards. Can you do mustaches and all of that stuff too?
You know, we have actually gotten into doing facial hair as well.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a beard system for men who have issues growing their hair. We've even had some women that have gotten our beards too. So, you know, the products definitely do not discriminate. They cross gender lines as well. And it's remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable to see the product when it's finally installed. But yes, we do offer 100% human hair beard system as well.
This is wonderful. Dr. Brooke, what we're going to do, we're going to talk a little more about this. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to touch more conversations about man cave for hair. People, this is actually transforming you, basically transforming, putting hair back on your head. I mean, making you come back to where you were when you was a young person. Make no mistake, this is really, really good. And you know what? Right now, it's time to get on deck. Let's get on deck with Ursula Camille. Ursula, what's the message for today?
Today, we're going to talk about the price of disobedience. The dictionary says that disobedience is failure or refusal to obey rules or someone in authority. When children disobey, this usually results in the child being placed on some type of restriction or losing certain privileges for a set period of time. As adults, if one disobeys guidelines on the job, it may result in being demoted or termination of employment. If one disobeys the law, they may find themselves in prison as a result of their law-breaking decision. In 1 Samuel 13, verses 8 through 14, it talks about Saul, who was disobedient and impatient, which caused him to be rejected as king. There was no do-over. Samuel immediately delivered to him the message that his kingdom would not continue, and the Lord had sought him a man after his own heart, and commanded him to be captain over his people. 1 Kings 13, here we have a prophet given instruction by God to not eat bread in Ephraim and to go back by another way from which he had come. In verse 7 through 10, the prophet is invited by the king to come home with him, refresh himself, and receive a reward. The prophet did not take the king up on his offer and chose to obey God. In verse 11 through 19, the prophet is met by an older prophet. The older prophet lied to him, telling him an angel told him to tell this younger prophet to come back with him and to eat bread and drink water. The younger prophet went back with him and ate bread and drank water. Verse 20 through 21, the older prophet then delivered a word from the Lord, telling the younger prophet because he disobeyed the mouth of the Lord that the younger prophet would die. The younger prophet's disobedience to God cost him his life. A quick stop along your journey could put you in danger of disobedience. Remember the instructions you were given. Follow the instructions completely through, and don't allow others to convince you otherwise of what you know you were given to do. Disobedience has a price that is equivalent to loss.
Hello and welcome back to Get With The Program radio show. Again, I am your host. Now, once again, today we're joined here in conversation with Dr. Brooke. Now, Dr. Brooks is the founder of Man Cave for Hair. And it's a wonderful thing transforming people, man. I mean, you know, it's incredible. You got to see it. Welcome back, Dr. Brooke, to the show.
Thank you.
And, you know, as I mentioned before earlier in the show, people, you know, she's actually appeared on Sister Circle, the Q show. She's been on ABC News, Fox News. I mean, this is nothing little. This is real. You know, you have to see this. You have to go to the website and take a look at it. It is incredible. I am moved. You know what, Dr. Brooke, I think I'm going to try it. I may just go ahead and get that done, you know, and
You should.
and let people see me and put it on my website. I might do that. You know, this is real talk. I might do that. Now, I want to ask you this. Now, what happens, okay, if someone gets the hair, get the hair piece put on their head, and you said it's adhesive. I think you said it was adhesive, some glue. Now, what happens if their hair is still growing? If they cut their hair and they want to get it, what if their hair grows under there? Does it kind of rise up or something?
Yeah. So the products that we use to kind of help make sure that the hair system stays adhesive to the scalp, of course, they work together with the adhesive. We do put a scalp protector on there, which creates a film and a protector for the hair system to actually go onto the skin. And really, that's where the weekly or biweekly maintenance comes in, because it's still, your hair, if your hair grows in other areas, you still want to make sure you get your maintenance so that it can still look like a seamless installation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good to know. Now, your clientele, I know you're going for pretty much now. I mentioned you heard men of color, so we're talking black men.
Mm-hmm.
And now, do you anticipate on ever crossing over into other hair?
Yeah, so we do also offer hair for Caucasian men as well, although that's not what we specialize in. We do have hair systems for men that have finer hair. I'd say that. We really, truly, our heart and our soul is in this demographic, partly because majority of times with people in this demographic, we usually are underserved. We're under-recognized, and that shows. And as you see, even within the beauty industry, they're just now starting to create lines for women's makeup that really cater to the multiple shades in which we come in. But, unless someone in that demographic that's experienced the culture and how it affects them comes to the forefront and says, hey, wait a second, what about these people? It will never get done, Gary. So I said, you know what? Instead of waiting for someone else to step up to the plate, I put on my Madam C.J. Walker hat and I stepped forward and I said, you know what? We're going to create a lane for men of color who are going through male pattern baldness.
With this product in line that you have, are you in other states now, or are you merging into other places as we speak?
Yeah. We are actually working right now on launching Man Cave for Hair barbershops in Atlanta as well as in New York City. We have had a couple opportunities to expand before COVID hit, but you know what? It didn't stop. We are still working on our expansion in those two locations, with the hopes of rolling out these opportunities for Man Cave for Hair services to be received in as many states as we're able to. That's the goal, is to be able to provide these services to everyone within the 50 states.
Mm-hmm. Now, everything people create at some point in life and things that happen, new inventions, new awareness. What are some of the pros and cons of this product that you have? Because there got to be some good and some bad to it. What do you see, or if you see any? What are some of the pros and cons to this?
Yeah, I think some of the pros. I would say the pros are, just the satisfaction that comes with being able to solve someone's problem. I think for a very long time this has just been an issue in this, like I said, in this population. So I think the biggest pro is the satisfaction that we get as a company, being able to solve this problem, because it's a lot bigger than just, I didn't have hair, now I have hair. Like I said before, it truly can alter someone's quality of life. It can alter their confidence. It can alter their relationship. There's so many different moving parts as it relates to hair loss in men, and specifically men of color. So I think the biggest pro is that we're able to address many different issues by just being able to provide the option. I think the con on the flip side is that it's not something that has been deemed to be as acceptable as women, and as it relates to hair restoration and options. So I think that part, we culturally, we set the tone when it comes to culture, when it comes to fashion, when it comes to the trends. So it's hard sometimes to kind of penetrate through that. So looking for the face, of ethnic hair restoration, looking for that person to step out and say, hey guys, I have one. I know that a lot of people saw the picture of LeBron James, who actually, on the basketball court, you can see some of his hair restoration options kind of failed a little bit, But, it takes someone to be able to step up and say, you know what, guys, listen, this is what I'm dealing with. I'm going to be the first person to step out and say, hey, brothers, it's okay. So I think the biggest con is not having enough, not enough people to step up to the plate to be the first ones to say, all right, it's acceptable. This is what we're doing now. Let's make it happen.
Some real men quickly to say, well, I'm not going to get that in my head. You have a diverse crowd on that. So it's really a sticky situation, I would think. But now, do you have return people that come back when they get it done? They come back. You got a lot of return clientele?
Absolutely. We have had so many amazing opportunities, Gary, and met from so many amazing people. People that have become lifelong customers, people that have, become loyal to our brand. And we are just so thankful for all of the people who follow us on our social media platforms, who wear and love our products. That's just been another added joy to what we do, is being able to provide that. We even had the opportunity to be used on one of the designers in Paris Fashion Week last year. So we've had people call us from all over the country and different parts of the world. We get a lot of inquiries from people in the UK and Canada. It's just something that really is needed more than we really know. Wow.
Now, two things. How long have you been doing this, and did you think this was going to take off like it is?
Gary, I had no idea. I'm just going to be completely transparent. I have absolutely nothing to hide, and I'm transparent because I hope that my story can encourage somebody else. So when I started this, I had a 2-month-old brand new baby. I literally was not thinking about starting a new business venture, as if having children and raising children was not enough. But I tell you, it's something when you're purposed to do something. It's something when you have been given a vision and an idea that's just yours. And the way that you're able to maneuver, even in times when you would least expect, yourself to be taking on new ventures. But it's something that has evolved in each and every opportunity that comes, each and every person that buys a product and smiles after it's installed. I'm always just as happy and excited as the first time, because I never expected it was going to be this big. But now all that has done is just expanded my creative vision. Like I said before, I tap into my ancestor, Madam C.J. Walker, every chance I get, because she was a visionary. A lot of people told me, Dr. Brooke, what are you doing? This makes no sense. Men aren't going to wear this. Why are you doing this? I got so many different comments and feedback, but I said, I have a vision, and there's people out here who need this. And it started right here in the home front. Even though my husband does not wear the product, he's very happy being bald at this point. But nonetheless, it started with me witnessing what that process did in his personal life.
Wow, what an incredible story. Dr. Brooke, thank you so much. I mean, once again, tell my audience where they can find this, where they can see those videos and the product one more time.
Absolutely. Everybody, if you are interested in finding out more about Man Cave for Hair, you can go to www.mancaveforhair.com. That's MANCAVE, the number 4, hair.com. We are also on Instagram and Facebook under Man Cave for Hair. And you can also look us up on YouTube to find some of our videos. We would love to hear from you.
You got to see this, people. Dr. Brooke, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. You are transforming people, and that's a blessing. Someone that doesn't have hair and all of a sudden they have hair, particularly cancer patients and people with alopecia. I mean, that is incredible. I am thrilled to have a conversation with you. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome, and thank you, Gary. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Once again, today we're joined with Dr. Brooke. She's changing lives, man, putting hair back on people's heads and making it work, and it's comfortable, making it do what it do. But once again, you're listening to Get With The Program radio show. As I always say, I'm Gary Jones, your host, and I always say, keep your head up, stay positive, and remember to
Get with the program.
What you talking about?
The program. The program. Get with the program.
Everybody clap to this. Say what?
program.
It starts now.